All right, I haven't made a video for a couple days. I was just thinking about, one, I keep giggling because of just the way he nailed the funny on this bit that he did. Matt Walsh did this bit where he's in that movie that Daily Wire made, and like if you catch it, like there's like this opening part. Oh, bro, fucking, are you accelerating, turning? What are you doing? Okay. So the oh wow, check out the slough. It is raining. It is seriously raining, just like Farmer's Almanac said. Remember, Greta Thunberg cannot tell you that it's going to rain like this, but Farmer's Almanac for money can. It's supposed to just stay like this, like for days and days and days, just constantly drizzling or raining. So Matt Walsh did this great thing where they show him meditating in his front yard, and one of the best little things that they did is this way that he's got this incredibly smug smile on his face. And he's going, no, yes, no, yes. And he keeps doing this. And, they never really give you any idea why, what he's thinking or any of that. The thing is, though, and so this really hit me as I was starting to roll this around. This wouldn't make sense to a lot of people. Because there isn't the same culture in liberal culture of real self-care, going and meditating, yoga, tai chi, all that. It doesn't exist anymore. That aspect of that part of the culture has definitely died. The physical culture part of it, which is sort of this quasi-Vedanta thing. So people who don't understand, okay, liberals who are into Hinduism or Vedanta, so basically this kind of fake Hinduism, one of the most important things about it is people who are into the East Asian martial arts, like they're into karate and taekwondo and all that. Okay, there's always been an animosity between these two. The yoga teachers are always white girls. Always pretty thin white girls who are probably gymnasts or dancers at some point. Every time, without fail. Or like about 8 times out of 10. And they join a martial arts class so that they could do martial arts with their boyfriend or meet guys. That's what they do. A lot of ethnic minorities who you are thinking of voting for Trump, you kind of need to understand more about white liberals and what happened from the 50s through the 70s and the kind of social revolution and the sexual revolution. So one of the key things is, okay, there's a criticism of Obama, cultural Marxist, blah, blah, blah. Why did people say that? Because he's in a photo with a dude who was a part of an organization that bombed 5,000 or called in bomb threats to 5,000 police stations. This dude became, by the time Obama's is around, so this is like the 60s and 70s, by the time Obama's in a photo with this guy, he had gone to federal prison, got out, and by that time he was already a college professor. So people have to so if you're stepping away from the Democratic Party, you have to understand all these people on the left, this is really a movement of the most low-minded criminal people who everything that if you've kind of gotten this idea, you guys just keep trying to say you're going to do something and you never do. No, they're hustlers. The sexual revolution, when you start really digging into that, like my dad was one of these people. He was older than a lot of the hippies at the time. So his point of view was, no, this is just a bunch of hippies keeping a bunch of white girls barefoot in the kitchen and pregnant and talking about the revolution in the other room. That's what the hippies and the sexual revolution was. And I mean, this is a dude who, serious white dude into jazz. Like my grandpa serious into jazz, can talk about clubs that you couldn't find if you were a white person. He was the white guy in the club. Like, they were trying to be the real thing, and really, like, be it like people that they didn't know much about and were different than them. But the social revolution, the cultural revolution, sexual revolution of the United States mostly were criminal people, and people with very strange ideas, and they don't like society as a whole holding them responsible for what, like, just their criminal behavior. And so one of the things, sexual revolution, most of this was people who abused children or advocated for it or would excuse it. One of these guys, his last name Kinsey, Kinsey. If you haven't looked this guy up, if you look up criticisms of him, I mean, you couldn't imagine somebody trying to come at you saying, oh yeah, I'm all about this. What he would do is, he was supposedly a psychotherapist who said that he specialized in sexology, that he terms this phrase, or he coins this term, and so his whole thing is that he will interview people to find out their deep sexual motivations. And this goes back to Freud and the beginnings of psychology. And because psychology many times is fundamentally just kind of bad. A lot of it is really pseudoscience. It's not like physics, that you have a theory and then you test it. Like queer theory, gender theory, all this stuff that these white girls and these weird white dudes in dresses are trying to insist, like that really the height of Black Americana is Baldwin, what was it? I can't believe Lorraine Hansberry, and then and eventually that becomes Lil Nas X, and that's like some kind of height of Black American culture, or Black Americana. There's a reason why almost the only jazz singers that you ever see white women, that white women only like that one guy, that I'm feeling good. White women only like that one woman, the I'm feeling good lady. Why? Because she was very likely gay. And it really, like this, you won't hear, like you won't see white women play, like white boomer women, white Gen X women, you'll notice they don't play James Brown. They don't know shit about him. Why? Because to them, he was just a guy who beat his wife. Period. There's nothing else matters. Not the fact that he changed the music across the world. That doesn't matter. Does not matter that the musicians who played with him for decades established some of the most well-known tunes in Black American music, and some of the greatest bands as well. Doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter to them. He was mean to women. He was a sexist and a misogynist. Nothing else matters to them. Why do they like the guys they like? Because the guys are thirsty. Everything about white liberalism is white men who are desperately thirsty for pussy, and they sing these shitty ass songs, and everything they make is just kind of lackluster and lame, but the women love it. The women fucking love it. They eat it up. Just like R&B, and how R&B was crap. So all of us boys during the late 80s and then into the 90s listened to something called rap music because we hated R&B. R&B was garbage. None of anyone who tells you otherwise, they're lying, they're just trying. And so then this comes down to this, is the desperate need for black women to be something special to white liberal women. Desperate need, thirst, incredible thirst for recognition, some kind of recognition of we're smart too, we're pretty too, we're just, and so anytime white women, liberal white women, they only go after, remember, liberal white women, really. Every time that the liberal white women do something that basically makes it clear that white women can get black men and can get white men. It's a sexual revolution, so it's this desperate thirst. So it's not that, oh, well, black men would want a black wife because then you'll have a traditional black home. See, black women have given up on this because of the sexual revolution and something called the soul girl. What is a soul girl? A black woman on chemical birth control. Because one of the most important things to baby boomers is perversion, sex, living large, and birth control. And just, I don't know why. I've even had moments that I've perceived this from men who would call themselves conservative. You know, that they you know, who knows what would have happened without chemical birth control. You know, and yeah, and you know, because the you know, what was happening at the time, you know, and they can't really back this up with really good data, because there wasn't really good data that there was this tremendous amount of out of wedlock births. There wasn't. This has been made clear by Thomas Sowell. There's no data that says this. White American writers just said it. Now, one of the most important things for black Americans, you're walking away from the Democrats, is what is the deal with the liberal Jews? Let's just go straight to it. A major part of the social and cultural, and especially the sexual revolution, all Jews. It just, without them, most of this would not have happened. I mean, not just the music scene, but when it comes to the sexual stuff, the most insanely deviant people that are cited as some kind of scholars who science and understand the science of things, most of them are non-religious Jewish people. And who will immediately, if you criticize their work in a way that it's a legitimate criticism, completely just critique of their work, you will be labeled an anti-Semite. If you're saying that, oh no, man, this theory that Judith Butler has about gender and sex and blah 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 blah, you're an anti-Semite for doubting Judith Butler. You're a misogynist, a horrible bigot, and anti-Semite. Anything where you bring up that almost all forms of advocacy for abnormal sexual actions, and so the actual practices of abnormal sex, the minute you criticize this, that you will be called an anti-Semite. And it's because so many, when you look back all the way to Germany in the 30s, you will find sex clubs. That's what Hitler, one of the things he was mad about, was that the Jews kept opening up these debaucherous sex clubs. Not kidding at all, in any way, shape, or form. And it's one of these things that you're going to just have to get over the emotions, and you're going to have to ask the right wingers. Just start asking them. I've heard this. Do you have any information on this? I've heard this, and you're going to be absolutely just fucking. It's going to blow your mind. Just how there's just nothing to any of this about. Oh no. There's a textbook that explains how sometimes people have the gender, and this none of it holds water. Climate change. Okay, white liberals love this thing called Earth Day. Look that guy up. Look him up. He killed his girlfriend, put her in a trunk, not of a car, a wooden trunk, and shoved it into his fucking closet of his apartment. People kept coming by. And he said like she went to visit her family or something like that. And so he would teach people from The bathtub. He would sit in a dirty bathtub and teach people. He was like notoriously filthy. This is something very, very strange about the people white liberals like kind of worship, and specifically the boomer end. The boomer end is who really was bad about this. Like crazy, obviously kind of cultish, kind of sick in the mind. It's the same kind of weird thing about like why if you look back to the 70s, you see all these black people with Stars of David on them. And it's just that this was like the thing. That this was this weird idea that somebody came up with. That like black people have something to do with ancient Israel. Like that even fucking matters. Where black people are descended from people who come from their own fucking continent. They don't need to be made legitimate by, oh, no, we in the Bible too. See, because we be building pyramids and shit. You know, it's because nothing else matters. And why? Because white liberals have all these crazy ideas about the pyramids. And it really, the further you look back, once you start getting to the late 1800s, and this lady, Madame Blavatsky, and her writings, Isis Unveiled, you start to see that, no, all the liberals do is they just kind of turn, oh no, it wasn't that we white people created the pyramids and all ancient civilizations. No, it turns out it was actually the black people. Even though there's no evidence for either of these, because all of this stuff is stuff that came up prior to a lot of very, very good scientific work being done. So once you have good scientific work being done, a lot of what white liberals think doesn't hold water. So it becomes this set of ideas that you only find where they live. In these weird little college towns, in these leftover hippie shitholes, like here in Oregon and stuff. And you need to get this, because so many of their kids were drug addicted and mentally broken. And it's not their mama's fault. No. It's always their dad. It's always their dad. White liberals worship their mothers, no matter how totally and obviously fucking dysfunctional they are. No matter how stupid they are, that you sit there, you finally meet her, and she's like saying things, and you're just like, oh my god, this bitch doesn't know shit. How are you alive, dog? Your mom is fucking stupid. You know, and so you need to get this about the white liberals, that a lot of these people, like, they're troubled white people. Many of them are like criminal to the point of, no, really. This dude puts on a dress and insists he's a woman so he can hurt girls. He has a pathological hatred of women, and this is some weird, super demented thing. Now, when you look at cinema and you look at white liberal psychology about all this, they try to paint it up like, oh no, it's conservatives really are all confused, and they have these confused feelings about their masculinity and stuff. And it turns out, where did they get any of this? Turns out, no, they got this from this lunatic Kinsey. And he mostly just made this shit up. When you look at where white liberals get their understanding of the outside world, it all comes from like writers and all these people who just made things up about people they didn't like. Most of which were religious people who were morally disciplined, people who save their money, people who can keep their family members close. People who can feed their people. Don't forget that. White people who can feed their people. White liberals hate their fucking guts. They envy them. It's a deep hatred and seething loathing of these people who they just seem to do. And the white liberals are sitting there like, oh, I'm so consternated all the time about, oh, there's a little retarded girl who told me that the sky's falling. And they always fall for it. Before it was some mixed race girl from Brazil who was telling them that the poles were melting. Look that one up. Just like literally go live feed North Pole ice satellite. Just work those words around. You're eventually going to find something to NASA and NOAA and OAA, and you'll find that no, you can look at the pole. There's lasers that are measuring the depth of the ice all the time. This is the awful. This is so fucked up. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Look at the white liberals. Just especially you big brothers. You big brothers that it's like you don't know, you don't want to mess with it. You don't want to hurt no gay people. You don't want to, you don't give a fuck about what people do with that. Yeah, the conservatives don't either. These people keep trying to fuck their kids. They keep trying to go into the pockets of other white people. And that's why you get the white people who become conservative. Because they're like, no, what you're saying here, this doesn't hold up. They're like, oh, well, these teachers and these experts, once again, professors who tried to blow up police stations. That's who they're quoting. There's a whole group of them. There's some of them who are still major people in the Democratic Party right now. Now we're in the Weathermen. When you look up and, but white liberals was down with the Panthers. Yeah, you see, because you never hear the criticism of this. That Jewish guy who was so close to Eddie or Huey. Yeah, it was well known that he was fucking Huey up the ass. He was fucking Huey up the ass, or Huey was fucking him. It doesn't matter if people want to get mad about it. Without these weird leftist, like they hate the Christians. And this is a very important one. The leftist liberal whites, the white Jewish liberals, they hate if you decide to go back to your ancestral religion of Christianity, which a lot of you, that's not our ancestors that I don't know shit about. They worshipped all kinds of spirits of Africa, and it's good. Go for it. Just like BLM did. Revert back. Go back to when blacks were so weak that people could just pluck them off the shores. Go Allah Akbar, and let me throw you on some guy's boat to America. You lucky bastard, lucky you aren't going to end up in Arabia, because we'll cut your frickin' cock off. Because that's what the Muslims did to Africans when they took 2/3 more as slaves than they sold to the Europeans. Why? Because Africans had no book. They were pagans. They weren't people of the book. Or if they were Christian, well, they're not Muslims, so we can enslave them. See, it keeps working. The way Islam works, it always works to the advantage of the Muslims, and it's always something that God said is okay. Remember that. It doesn't matter if you don't like it. You're going to just have to start getting used to a lot of this stuff. Because the right wing knows. The right wing can say, oh, here it is. Here's the most important book in Islam, and here it is, all right there. Yeah, you didn't know that. Because white liberals didn't want you to. Because atheistic Jews didn't want you to. One of the only groups of Christians it says that is absolutely open about this are the Russian Orthodox. Where they're like, yeah, when the atheist Jews took over our country with communism. And most of you never heard what happened. Russia's one of the most diverse countries on the planet. They basically diversified Russia. There were people from, people Russians never saw before. who like lived just north of Japan in Moscow. You know, like they had to spread Russians all over the place just to try to get all these people to be able to speak Russian. And that was with the Soviets. This is the Soviet Union. So a lot of you who are perplexed, ask, just be anonymous and start asking people questions who are right of center. Go, I heard something like this. And like, if it shocks you, if you see somebody post something that you're like, oh, that racist, what you need to do is you need to be like, okay, I gotta ask you, because I left the Democratic Party, but I don't understand stuff like this. I don't know how to, what is this supposed to be about? Like, I just want to know what I don't understand what this means. I don't understand what, like, do you just not like Jews? There's a lot of people on the right that they are at the stage where they just don't trust Jews at all. I'm not one of these people. I figure everybody has their own interests as a group. Like black people have, black Americans. Here's something that easy peasy lemon squeezy. You go to the Republican Party and you say, you got our vote if you drop the federal tax on sole proprietorships. Just every contractor, every truck driver, there's so many jobs like this. Every Uber and all those kind of people. To some degree, taxi drivers. And then the big one, hairstylists. This would mean there's no more federal taxation on hairstylists. What changed in black America? Oh, doing braids means you have to sign a bunch of paperwork and then the government goes in your pockets so that they can hand it to some guy whose name is like Golden Bloom, who wears a dress, and he could say, you know, everyone, we're going to listen to Lil Nas X today because he's the most important black voice in the history of black America. That's soul brother number one. To Ms. Golden Bloom. 6 foot tall Ms. Golden Bloom, whose voice sounds like this. Hey kids, yeah, we're gonna listen to Lil Nas X. Now I'm gonna have you like write a lot of things down about how much this is really important. It has opened your mind. I'm down with the Soul Brothers. And that's another one. Note, I bet a lot of you black men are hearing this. You'll see these things of these men in dresses saying how, oh, black men really are into this. Same shit. They're just getting it from some lunatics. No. There's crack smoking, like, savage brothers that are just savages, that are the street savages. That, you know, you look out the window at 3 a.m. and this motherfucker is strolling around someplace or doing, you know, just dirty. And those guys, yeah, they'll smoke rocks with a tranny and who knows what they'll get up to. But that so these guys in dresses then say, oh no, brothers are totally into it. I see brothers all the time hit on me and they look at me and blah blah blah. Is that an observation, or are they really hoping that that's how it is? Because then, you know, how manly is a black man if he has to get it from a white dude in a dress? So there's a lot of this, and now the advocacy for black traditionalism that really you'll see this widely across the right wing. Whether it doesn't matter who they are, they recognize when there's a black dude who it's like he's the real thing and he's old fashioned. There's always respect. They always show respect, and why? Because they know you're just a normal person. You don't have, and this is another important one to look up, dark triad traits. And a lot of black Americans are going to have to start getting familiar with dark triad, because there's people who they cannot ever be let out of jail. There's a lot of black people that they need to be incarcerated for an extremely long time, because black people don't deal with, white people were more than willing to send violent white men and crazy white men to, like, okay, yeah, go fight that Nazi's cannon. Serious as cancer. Go here, Spanish American War, yeah, here, go fight that. Oh, did he get malaria? Too bad. No, it's kind of a nut job anyway. And I'm not kidding. That white people are merciless against their own nut jobs, up until really very recent history. Merciless. There's whole books on how horrible white people treated other white people. So a lot of poor white people, who especially in the South, and people will say, oh yeah, kind of, some of these people are kind of slow and this and that. Yeah, and what you think of as white Yankee liberals they love disparaging those people. Once you've had enough conversations with these people, they will say the most awful things about other white people. So you have to seriously wonder what really is running through their heads about you. And really listen to some of these people when they want to go on a screed about the religious blacks. They don't do it often, but when they do, oh boy, they think you're backward. They think that you're Sambos. Like, that's the kind of stuff they say. So Martin Luther King was a Sambo to them, a convenient Sambo who went along with the communists and the Jews and the white women. That's why Malcolm X said what he did. They picked Martin because behind him was me, a nigger with a gun.